Okay. Yeah, so I like to start with saying, just talk about my journey. Thank you, Anita, for selecting me to come on this panel and speak. My journey to the AFSD admission support position started off as an IT specialist in Las Vegas. When I started off as an IT specialist, I had no idea what an AFSD of MS was. I worked as an IT specialist for 5 years, then a program analyst. The position came open, I applied for it and got that. I worked as part of the metrics team. I did that job for about 1.5 years, and then what happened was TSA had what we call the Great Realignment. And when that happened, I actually left TSA for about a year, year and a half, and I worked as a corporate project manager for Caesar's corporate offices. I came back to TSA as a coordination center manager, worked that position for about 1.5 years, and then I applied for a position as an administrative officer, because by this time I knew what an AFSD did and I knew what an administrative officer did. This was the position that I really wanted as an AO. I worked as an administrative officer in LAS for about 3 years, and I had no intention of leaving Las Vegas. I hadn't really thought about the AFSD admission support position because everything was going so good in Vegas. My wife and I were home one day getting ready for work, and I saw a transfer position open for an AFSD admission support for Hawaii. And it was unusual to see a position like that in transfers, so I just told my wife jokingly, I said, hey, you want to go back to Hawaii? And you see, my wife and I, we were stationed in Hawaii from 2001 to 2004 at Hickam Air Force Base. And she said, yes, of course I want to go back to Hawaii. Well, I was just joking. I really didn't want to go back, so I ignored her. We had been living in Las Vegas for about 15 years. We were purchasing our home, and my daughter was in a great private school. I was also a visiting professor teaching at a few colleges, teaching a few college courses, and I love teaching. To make a long story longer, my wife asked me about 2 or 3 more times, hey, are you going to apply for that position in Hawaii? For those of you who don't know this, if your spouse asks you if you're going to do something 2 or 3 times, that means you should really consider doing it. Anyway, I applied for the position and subsequently got selected for the position. I have served as the AFSD admission support for the Pacific a little over 2 years, and it was a great decision. I'm glad I talked my wife into it. So today I want to talk to you about, to be an AFSD of MS, I'm just going to go over 3 things. There's a lot of things I could go over, but I just picked 3 things to talk about. The first thing is you have to be a strong decision maker. You have to make decisions on hiring. You have to make decisions on finance challenges. You have to make decisions on what information to present to the FSD, and sometimes how that information is presented. As an AFSD mission support, you make decisions on awards, evaluations, strategic vision of mission support. As an AFSD MS, you will have several phone calls a day asking you to make decisions on a myriad of different things. In the Pacific, I oversee HR, training, coordination center, scheduling, finance, payroll, special projects, MCOP, real estate, information technology, and this is just to name a few of the varying projects that could be under your purview as an AFSD of MS. Some of you are probably thinking, well, that's cool. I know about all of those programs, and that's great for you guys. But I also know that there's some of you out there who were like me. I don't know about any of those programs in the beginning. Well, here's the thing. I'm here to tell you that both are correct, right? You can know something about it or you cannot. But my dad would always say, son, remember this. If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. So whichever way you think, you are correct. So if you think you can do the AFSD admission support position, you probably can. Remember, what we are talking about is being able to make sound decisions based on data, making sound decisions based on your understanding, and making sound decisions based on recommendations from your team. That's the first and most important thing that I do on a daily basis, decision making. And you don't have to make those decisions by yourself. You get a lot of input from great teams like the team that I have. The second thing an AFSD of MS has to be good at is leading people and managing programs. Always remember, you manage programs and you lead people. John Maxwell, a well-known leadership expert and author of the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, is quoted saying, the main difference between management and leadership is that leadership is about influencing people, influencing them to follow, while management focuses on maintaining systems and processes. As an AFSD of MS, you need to understand both. Some of the programs we have to manage are RPAs and HR, and you have to also be able to look at all the HR data from several departments and make future decisions based on that data. In the Employee Relations Department, we have to monitor the time it takes for a letter to get written, when we have to monitor how long it takes that letter to go through the HR process. We have to monitor how long it takes from incident to letter issuance. In the training department, we have to monitor the national training plan to make sure we are on track. We also have to make sure that the right classes are available at the right time. In scheduling, we have to monitor the schedule, the bids, the FTE. Our project team has to monitor all projects, equipment movements, maintenance challenges. All of this is under the purview normally of the AFSD Admission Support. Our Coordination Center has to monitor all incidents and Pacific communications. All of these programs have to be managed. I'm blessed to have a great team managing these programs. An example of how I focus on leadership, because remember, you have to lead and manage. Leadership is we have a weekly leadership meeting. Every Wednesday we have a leadership meeting with the senior leaders in mission support. Well, I call it a leadership meeting, but they made me change it to book club, and I acquiesced. Anyway, I have a class with all of the leaders of the teams in mission support every Wednesday. The administrative officer, the leader of the project team, the leader of our employee relations team, the leader of the coordination center, the leader of our training team, leader of our hiring team, leader of our scheduling team, and the leader of our finance and payroll team. See, what happened was I completed a certification that allows me to teach from the John Maxwell certification program. We select a book and go chapter by chapter every Wednesday. So far, we've completed the 15 Laws of Growth. That helps us understand how to grow as a leader. We've gone through the book, Everyone Communicates, Few Connect, and that teaches us how to connect as a leader. And right now, we're on Leadership Goal, which are lessons from a lifetime of learning from John Maxwell. The next book we will be going over is the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Now, a quick story about these leadership lessons. I spoke to the FSD and the Deputy FSD before I got started. They loved the idea, and I asked them to come to the first meeting and, kind of endorse the program. I told them I knew they were busy, so I only was asking for 15 minutes of their time. Just come in, endorse the program, and that's all I needed. They ended up staying that first hour. They joined the WebEx the second week, then the third. To this date, and it's been almost a year, they have only missed if they are on leave. And here's the thing, if I cancel the meeting, they call me and ask me, why'd you cancel the meeting, what's going on? So everyone participates and they get asked the same question as everyone else in the meetings. It's a great team builder, and the team gets to hear firsthand from senior leaders on their level and above their level. This helps them influence their team and teams around them, because as John Maxwell always says, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. So understanding how and when to manage and how and when to lead is the second thing I do on a daily basis. The third thing you should be good at when you're an AFSD of mission support is mentoring. Mentors have clear expectations. You can't take a journey if you don't know where you're going. The best mentors have expectations for what they can teach and where they can take their mentees. They share those expectations up front. Mentors are also vulnerable. I'm not talking about cry on Oprah's shoulder vulnerable. True vulnerability comes from being honest about your faults and your weaknesses. True vulnerability requires being self-aware enough to know you have them. When mentoring, you have to bring intellect and empathy to the conversation. And since we're talking about weaknesses, empathy is definitely one of the areas that I struggle with, but I'm very self-aware and I'm working on it. One of my weaknesses is being able to empathize with individuals that continue to make the same mistake over and over again. It doesn't happen often, but sometimes someone will always say to me, Chris, you have to put yourself in their shoes. My reply is normally put myself in their shoes. After making the same mistake twice, I would buy another pair of shoes or at least get another size. I know, sounds kind of mean, but don't judge me. I told you I'm working on my empathy. Mentors are direct and honest. We all know how frustrating it is when someone we respect can't bring themselves to give us their genuine thoughts and opinions. When I first got to the Pacific, I had several people ask me questions, and my answers are usually short and to the point. If you ask me a yes or no question, I'm probably going to give you a yes or no answer, especially if it's a question asking my opinion. One of the lead IBAN HR specialists told me one day, "Chris, you're just so matter of fact." I said, "Thank you." I thought about it and I said, wait a minute, what do you mean by that? And she was just laughing. She said, "You're straight to the point." The third thing I do on a daily basis is mentoring. This is a key aspect of day-to-day life of an AFSD admission support. So the three things I focus on daily as an AFSD admission support are decision making, leading people and managing programs and knowing the difference, and mentoring. I want to thank you all for joining, and I want to close with a poem I heard from Les Brown. It's for whenever you are on the fence about making a change or leap or trying to go to another position or aspiring to be in another position. And the poem goes something like this: if you want to think bad enough, go out and fight for it. To work day and night for it. To give up your time, your sleep, and your peace for it. If all that you scheme and dream is about it, and life seems useless and worthless without it. If you gladly sweat for it and fret for it and plan for it. Lose all the opposition of the terror for it. Then you simply just go after that thing with all of your capacity. Strength and sagacity. Faith, hope, confidence, and stern pertinacity. If neither cold, poverty, famine, nor gout, nor sickness, nor pain of body and brain can keep you away from that thing that you want, if dogged and grim you besiege and beset it, with the help of God, you will get it. My name is Christopher Houston, AFSD admission support for the Pacific. Thank you very much. Good night, and God bless.